Imagine a stone, not a large stone, just the kind of stone a person might carry in both hands, close to the body, the way you carry something that matters, but is too heavy to carry with one hand and too ordinary to put down. The kind of stone you pick up because something is required of you in this moment, and you are the one who happens to be present, and so you pick it up. You take the weight. You begin to walk. At first, it is not difficult. The stone is simply there in your hands, and you are moving, and the movement makes the weight feel temporary, something you are carrying for now, something you will set down soon, when you arrive wherever you are going. But then the path is longer than you thought, or you do not quite arrive anywhere that feels like the place you can set it down, or you keep passing moments where you could set it down, but the moment never feels quite right. There is always someone who needs the stone to stay where it is, someone who depends on you having it, someone who would be lost or hurt or left without if you put it down now. So you keep carrying, and the stone does not get heavier exactly. It is the same stone, but your arms get tired, and you stop noticing the stone after a while, because the tiredness has become ordinary, and ordinary things stop drawing attention to themselves. You stop feeling the weight as weight. You feel it as yourself. This is what tonight is for. The people who have been carrying the stone for so long, they have forgotten it is a stone. You know who you are. You may not have the words for it. You may not have thought of yourself as a person who carries a burden in silence, because carrying has become so natural that it does not feel like a burden anymore. It feels like you. It feels like the way you are built, the way you move through the world, the particular shape your life has taken. You are the one people lean on. You are the one who manages. You are the one who holds it together so that other things and other people can hold together around you. You have been this before, the person who gets the call at 2 in the morning, not because you were awake, but because everyone knows you can be called. The person who does not say "I can't" right now because you have learned somewhere in the long accumulation of years that saying you can is easier than navigating the aftermath of saying you can't. The person who appears repeatedly and reliably at the exact moment you are needed. This is not something anyone asked you to be, necessarily. You arrived at it through a series of small decisions that each made sense at the time. You said yes because someone needed you to. You held it together because something needed holding. You carried the stone because you happened to be there when the stone needed carrying, and then you happened to still be there the next time, and the time after that, and somewhere in the repetition, you became the stone carrier, not because anyone appointed you, but because it was true over and over again, and over time, what is true over and over again becomes identity. And now here you are, carrying something heavy in silence, because that is simply what you do. There is a particular kind of tiredness that belongs to the person who carries alone. You have felt it. It is not the tiredness of effort, of a hard day, of physical work, of something demanding that has been met and resolved. It is the tiredness that accumulates underneath, in the place that is not touched by sleep, not reached by ordinary rest. The tiredness of sustained holding, of being the ground that other things stand on, of knowing that tomorrow the stone will be there again, and the day after, and the day after that, and that no one is coming to take it from you because everyone has come to understand, quietly and without malice, that you are the one who carries it. This particular tiredness has a quality to it that is difficult to name. It is not unhappiness exactly. It is not resentment, though resentment may visit sometimes in the smaller hours. It is something more like the exhaustion of sustained presence, of being continuously available, continuously reliable, continuously the one who does not fall apart. It is the cost of never putting the stone down, accumulated across the days and years, becoming a quality of the air around you, a slight heaviness that you carry along with everything else. Tonight, we are going to sit with 7 stories that have been told, in various forms, across many centuries of Buddhist teaching. Stories about carrying alone, and what the carrying costs, and what happens when a person finally, however briefly, puts the stone down and discovers that the world does not collapse, that the ground was always there, that the carrying was never the only thing keeping everything in place. The teaching beneath these stories is one of the oldest in the tradition, the teaching of interdependence, which the Sanskrit calls pratityasamutpada, the arising of all things in relation to one another. No mountain rises alone, no river flows without the rain that fed it and the valley that holds it. No flame burns without the air that carries it. Everything that seems to stand alone is, if you look closely enough, held by a vast and intricate web of what has supported it. The person who carries alone is not less capable than the person who has discovered the web. They have simply not yet noticed that the web is there. We will explore that web tonight, slowly, with stories, with the particular patience that the night makes available. The patience of someone who has nowhere to be, who has already arrived at the place where this moment is happening, and who has only to remain. Let the stone rest for now. You can pick it up again tomorrow if you need it. Tonight, let someone else carry the air for a while, and let yourself be carried in it. The anchor image for tonight is simple. It is the moment before setting the stone down, not the setting down itself that comes slowly, and the stories will take us there, but the moment of recognition. The recognition that the stone is in your hands, that your hands are tired, and that there is ground beneath your feet that you did not make, and that ground has been holding you the entire time you were holding the stone. We tend to think about the stone, about the weight, about the carrying, about the question of whether to set it down and what would happen if we did. We spend a great deal of energy in relationship to the stone. But the ground is there too, and it has been there far longer than the stone has been in your hands, and it requires nothing from you, not acknowledgement, not gratitude, not even awareness. It simply holds. That is what ground does. That is what ground has always done. Tonight is an invitation to remember the ground, the web of support, that has been present throughout the carrying. The people who have carried things for you in ways you haven't fully accounted for. The moments of grace that arrived without your arranging them, the ordinary infrastructure of air and warmth, and the particular quality of this hour that is receiving you right now. The ground is more extensive than you have had time to notice. It has been there for all of it. Stay with that image as we begin. Before we begin, feel free to share what time it is, where you are, and what brought you here tonight. Some of you are in the early part of the night, the first quiet after a day that asked everything of you and received it. The hour after the last thing was handled, after the last message was sent, after the last person who needed you tonight has stopped needing you, and you have moved into the space that is, for the first time all day, yours alone. You came here because you needed something that was not another demand on your attention. Some of you are in the deeper hours, the 2 and 3 o'clock places where the people you carry for are asleep, and it is only you, awake with the weight that does not sleep alongside the people who made it. This hour has a particular quality. The quiet of it is different from the quiet of 9 o'clock. It is a more honest quiet. In this hour, you cannot pretend the tiredness isn't there, cannot fill the space with activity, cannot perform the version of yourself that manages. You are simply here in the dark with what has accumulated, and you came to find something in the dark that was not another accumulation. Some of you are not sure why you came, only that something in you recognized this as the right place for this hour, without being able to articulate what you were looking for. That recognition is sufficient. You do not need to explain your reasons for arriving anywhere. Arriving is enough. All of these are the right reason to be here. And you are in good company. There are many people listening tonight who are exhausted in the same quiet way, who manage beautifully in the light, and who come in the small hours to a place that does not ask them to manage, who are carrying stones and who have come briefly to set them down in the dark where no one is watching. We are glad you came. We will begin now. There is a teaching that the teachers return to again and again across many centuries and many traditions, because it is one of those things that sounds simple and is not simple at all, which means it needs to be approached from many angles, approached through stories rather than statements, approached the way you approach a person who is carrying something they cannot quite name, gently and from the side, and without demanding that they explain themselves first. The teaching is this: nothing arises alone, not a single thing, not a mountain, not a river, not a flame, not a thought, not a person. Everything that exists, exists in relation. Everything that seems to stand independently is being held from beneath and from every side by what has made it possible. The tree that seems to stand alone in a field has roots that have been reaching through the soil for decades, drinking from water that fell as rain from clouds that formed over an ocean 1,000 miles away, standing in soil that was made by the slow work of countless organisms across centuries, sheltered in its early years by the shade of trees that died before it was tall enough to bear the full weight of the sun. The tree appears alone. The tree has never been alone. This is pratitya samutpada, dependent origination, the arising of all things in dependence on all other things. One of the central teachings of the Buddhist tradition, not a metaphor, not a poetic description, a precise observation about the nature of existence. Everything that is because of what is around it, beneath it, before it, behind it. The web is not something added to reality. The web is reality. And here is where the teaching meets the person who carries alone, the strength that has kept you upright, the endurance that has allowed you to carry what you carry without asking for help, the capacity to manage that the people around you have come to rely on. None of this arose from you alone either. You are what you are because of every person who supported you in ways you may not have tracked, every act of care given to you in your early years that built the foundation you stand on now, every moment of grace extended to you by the world that you have not yet fully recognized as grace. The quality that allows you to carry so much, the dependability, the steadiness, the knowledge of what to do when things are falling apart, was itself given to you by things you did not choose and cannot fully account for. Your strength is a gift from the web, and the web is available to be drawn on again. You are already being carried. You have always been being carried. The stone in your hands is real, and so is the ground beneath your feet, which you did not make, and which has been holding you the entire time. There is something else the teaching says that is worth naming before we begin the stories. Something about the cost of carrying alone that goes beyond the obvious cost of the weight. When we carry alone, we carry two things simultaneously: the original weight and the decision to carry it alone, the stone and the posture of the stone carrier. The stone is heavy enough, but the posture adds something. The sustained management of the appearance of not struggling, the ongoing work of appearing fine, the energy it takes to maintain the story that the stone is not as heavy as it is. This second weight, the weight of the performance of being fine, is the part that accumulates fastest. The stone does not get heavier, usually, but the performance of fine gets heavier with every year we maintain it. Tonight, the stories will look at this double weight, at the original stone and at the story about the stone, at what changes when the story is revised. 7 stories are ready. Let us begin. Let us explore a story about what pride gives a stone that it did not have before. There was a young monk named Wen who came to the monastery at the age of 19 with the particular quality of confidence that belongs to young people who have always been the capable one, the one the family depended on, the one the teachers praised, the one who arrived at every difficulty, already knowing roughly how to proceed. He had grown up as the eldest of 4 children, and the eldest of 4 in a family that required management had learned to manage before the learning felt like learning. It had simply been what was required of the morning and the evening, and all the hours in between. He was not arrogant, exactly. He was genuinely capable. He had earned the reputation by being what it described: competent, reliable, steady, the person others turned to because he rarely disappointed. He had been this person for so long that he had stopped distinguishing between who he was and what he was useful for. The two had grown together so thoroughly that neither felt separate. To be capable was to be himself. To not be capable was. He would not have said this, could not have said this, because it was not a thought he had yet had. It was to be no one. In his second month at the monastery, his teacher set him a task that was, on its surface, simple. Carry a stone from the lower garden to the upper practice hall. A single stone, the size of a melon, smooth and grey, sitting in the soil near the base of the eastern wall, where it had been placed as a marker and was no longer needed there. The upper practice hall was 40 minutes walk up the mountain path, a long walk, but not an extraordinary one. Wen was young and strong. The stone was not light, but it was manageable. He set out in the morning. The first 10 minutes were easy, as first minutes of things tend to be. The path was clear, the air cool, the stone simply there in his arms, present but not yet demanding. He walked with the posture of someone performing a task well. This was how he walked through most things, with the awareness of doing them correctly, with the small monitoring part of himself that observed his own performance and found it satisfactory. By 20 minutes, the stone had become something that required more of him than he had expected. Not impossible. He was not struggling in any obvious sense, but the relationship between his arms and the stone had shifted. Stone was asking more of him. He adjusted his grip, shifted his weight, focused on his breathing. He was managing. This was manageable. He did not slow his pace. By 30 minutes, the stone had become something different from what it had been. Not larger, the same stone, but the relationship between his arms and the stone had changed in a way that was not about size. The stone was now the central fact of his body. Everything else was in service of the carrying. His breathing shallow and careful, his pace shortened to avoid jostling, his focus narrowed to the management of the weight and the distance remaining. Sweat had come. His shoulders were communicating something he did not want to hear. He was no longer walking with the awareness of doing it correctly. He was simply walking, with the awareness that walking was the only thing available to him. And here is where the story turns on a small thing, which is where the important stories always turn. Two monks came down the path from above, older, unhurried, moving with the ease of people who had been on this path many times and had no particular relationship to it today. They stopped when they saw Wen. They saw his arms. They saw the stone. They saw what they saw. One of them said, "That looks heavy. Can we help?" The offer was genuine. There was nothing in it except what it appeared to be. Two people seeing a third person carrying something difficult and offering to carry it together. The offer was clean. It required nothing. It was simply, "Can we help?" Wen said, "I am fine." He said it the way people say it when they are not fine, with the particular flatness that is the sound of a door being closed, not rudely, not angrily, simply, the door is not open. The two monks looked at him for a moment longer, than a moment needs to be, and then they continued down the path. He continued up. In the final 10 minutes, his arms were trembling. The stone was no longer a stone. It was a condition, a total involvement of every muscle below his neck, a conversation between his body and the weight that left no room for anything else. He could not think about anything except the carrying. He arrived at the upper practice hall 12 minutes behind the time he had estimated, set the stone down on the floor, and sat beside it for a long time, breathing, simply breathing. The breathing that arrives when the managing is done, when the body can finally say what it has been saying for 30 minutes that you would not listen to. His teacher found him there. She was an older woman with the kind of stillness that comes from many years of practice, not the stillness of someone who has suppressed her reactions, but the stillness of someone who has had so many reactions across so many years that they no longer require drama. She looked at the stone. She looked at Wen. She sat down across from him, cross-legged, and did not say anything for a while. She simply let the moment be what it was. Then she said, 2 monks offered to help. It was not a question. A question would have given him room to redirect. This was an observation, the kind that lands differently. Wen said, I could manage. His teacher said, I know you could manage. I asked 2 monks to pass you on the path specifically because I knew you could manage. I wanted to see what you would say. Wen looked at the stone. He thought about this. The 2 monks had been arranged. The question had been arranged. The stone had been arranged. All of it had been arranged to see what he would say when help was offered. And he had said, I am fine. He said, I said I was fine. His teacher said, you arrived 12 minutes late, and you are sitting on the floor, breathing. Were you fine? He considered this with the honesty that his teacher's voice made available, the particular honesty that certain teachers can evoke not by demanding it, but by being so fully present that pretense becomes more effort than truth. He said, no. His teacher said, so you were not fine, and you said you were fine, and you refused the help, and you arrived late and exhausted. Tell me, what did the refusal give you? He thought about it for a long time. He tried several answers and discarded them. He tried, I wanted to complete the task myself, and it felt thin. He tried, I didn't want to slow them down, and it felt false. He tried, the carrying is my responsibility, and it felt like the beginning of the truth, but not the truth itself. Finally, he said, I didn't want them to think I couldn't do it. His teacher said, and now, Wen said, they don't know whether I did it or not, and I'm on the floor. His teacher picked up the stone and held it easily in one hand. She was stronger than she looked, as people who have spent many years in a body that is regularly asked things of it tend to be. She said, the stone is the same stone whether one person carries it or 3. It does not know who carried it. It does not have a preference. It does not award points for having been carried alone. The only thing that changed between their offer and your refusal was something inside you. A story about what it would mean to accept help. A story about what accepting would say about you. and whether that thing would be tolerable. And that story made the stone heavier and made you later, and produced this moment of sitting on the floor breathing, and none of those things needed to happen. She set the stone on the shelf where it was meant to go. She said, "The next time 2 monks come down the path, let them carry it with you. The stone will arrive at the same place. You will arrive at the same place, and you will have spent 40 minutes walking in company, rather than 40 minutes managing alone. That is worth a great deal. It costs nothing, and it is waiting for you every time you decide the story is more important than the walk." She left him there with the shelf and the stone and the question. He sat with the question for the rest of that day and for many days after. What did the refusal give you? He returned to it each time he found himself on the mountain path with a heavy stone and 2 monks coming down. He found that the answer changed across the years. It was always some variation of a story, and the story was always different, and the stone was always the same weight, whether he carried it alone or with others. You have been when on that mountain path. In whatever form the mountain takes in your life, the task that needed carrying, the difficulty that was not asked for, the sustained weight that you were managing, and the moment when someone offered to share the carrying, and you said, "I'm fine." The words may have been different. The moment was the same. You said it not from arrogance and not from stupidity, but from the same confusion when carried up that mountain. The confusion of the self with the function. The confusion of who you are with what you do. If I accept the help, then I am not the one who could have done it alone. And if I am not the one who could have done it alone, then what am I? What remains? The offer of help can feel, to the person who has always been the capable one, like an offer to take something essential from them, when it is, in fact, an offer to lighten a stone. The stone does not know who carried it. It does not have a preference. There is something else in this story worth noticing before we move on. Wen's teacher did not scold him. She did not tell him that refusing help was wrong, or that the pride that motivated it was a fault to be corrected. She simply asked a question. What did the refusal give you? And the question itself was the teaching, because the question pointed at the story rather than at the behavior, at the inside of the decision rather than the outside of it. It said there was something the refusal was doing for you, not something imagined, something real, something that felt like it mattered. What was it? And the answer, when Wen finally found it, I didn't want them to think I couldn't do it, was not shameful and was not foolish. It was the answer of a person who had spent their life being the capable one, for whom being seen as incapable was not a neutral experience, but a genuinely threatening one, a revision of the identity they had built over many years of being needed. The refusal made sense, given who Wen was and how he had come to be that person. The refusal was almost inevitable, and it was still a choice, and it was still optional, and it still added 12 minutes and a floor and a body in trembling arms to a path that could have been something else. You have this inside you, the specific shape of the story that makes your refusals feel necessary. You know what it is, roughly, even if you have not said it clearly. The story is real. The feeling that motivated it is real. And the stone, and the 12 minutes, and the floor, those are real too. The question is simply, given all of these, what do you choose? Not tonight. Tonight is not for choices, but in the morning, on the path. When 2 monks are coming down, let us pause here for a moment. When and the mountain path, and the teacher's question that stayed with him for years. What did the refusal give you? Let that question rest in the body without requiring an answer tonight. Simply notice if it settles somewhere, if it finds a place that recognizes it. Simply breathe. When you are ready, we will continue together. Let us explore a story about what a grove knows that a single tree does not. On a hillside above a farming village, there were 2 kinds of trees. On the western slope, exposed to the wind that came down from the mountains in the autumn and the spring, there was one tree, a large, old oak that had stood alone for perhaps a century and a half. Its trunk was thick with the diameter of decades, its bark deeply ridged in the way of trees that have weathered many seasons, its root system spreading wide across the hillside to anchor itself against the decades of wind it had endured. It was, in the language of the people who had grown up looking at it, a strong tree. When the village children described strength, they sometimes pointed at that oak. It was the tree you could point to. On the eastern slope, sheltered slightly from the worst of the mountain wind, by the angle of the hillside, there was a grove, perhaps 40 trees of mixed variety, growing close together, their canopies touching and overlapping in the middle of the grove, their root systems intertwined beneath the soil in ways the eye could not see, but the soil held as fact. No single tree in the grove was particularly distinguished. None had the singular drama of the western oak. From a distance, the grove looked unremarkable, simply a collection of trees, none of them worthy of pointing to, none of them separately what you would call a strong tree. They were simply many trees, close to each other, sharing space, the way things share space when they have been in the same place for long enough. A woodcutter named Chen had worked both slopes for 30 years. He knew the trees the way you know things that you have spent your working life in proximity to. Not as knowledge exactly, but as familiarity, the kind that accumulates below the level of conscious thought and lives in the hands and the body and the quality of attention that arrives without being summoned. He knew the particular sound of the oak's branches in the wind and the different sound of the grove. He knew which trees would be difficult and which would be easy. He knew the slope of the hill and the quality of the soil at different elevations, and the way the light moved through the different kinds of canopy at different hours. He knew these things without knowing that he knew them, which is the deepest kind of knowing. In the autumn of his 31st year on the hillside, there was a storm. Not the worst storm the valley had seen. The oldest people remembered worse, but a serious storm. The kind that comes in the night and makes the houses sound uncertain of themselves. The wind pushing through the mountain passes in long sustained waves that had a quality of intention. As if the mountain were deciding something about the season and communicating it at volume. Chen lay in his house and listened to it and thought about the trees. This was the kind of thinking that happens when you know a landscape well enough that it becomes a body of concern. The trees were not his trees, but they were the trees he knew, and knowing is a kind of belonging. The next morning, he went first to the western slope. The old oak had lost several major branches, large limbs torn away cleanly at the breakpoint, the pale interior wood, visible where the storm had taken them, already beginning to be darkened by the moisture in the October air. The tree was alive, would survive. It had survived worse. Its century and a half of solo standing on the exposed western slope was evidence of survival capacity, but it was diminished. The crown that had made it remarkable was smaller. The loss was visible from the village below for people who knew what to look for, an absence where there had been shape. He stood with the oak for a while. He had known it for 30 years, and it had always looked like that crown. The wide spread of branches that made it identifiable from the valley, that made it the tree you pointed to. And now the storm had taken a third of it. The storm that the oak had stood against alone for one night, without the capacity to move away from the force of it, or to share the force of it, or to give any of it anywhere. The storm had come, and the oak had been the only thing between it and itself, and the oak had lost branches. He went then to the eastern slope. The grove was almost entirely intact. A few outer trees on the northern margin, those that had been directly in the path of the wind's first arrival, had lost some branches, had absorbed the force at the grove's edge in the way that outer things absorb force, so that the inner things don't have to. But the absorption had been distributed. No single tree bore the full weight of what the wind brought. The impact had been passed inward and outward and sideways, shared through the canopy and through the interlocked root system beneath the soil, dispersed across the collective body of the grove until no single tree had received more than it could bear. The interior of the grove was untouched. The trees in the center had experienced the storm, if they could be said to experience anything, as a night of wind, nothing more. Chen stood at the edge of the grove for a long time. He was not, by temperament, a philosophical man. His thinking was practical and concrete, shaped by decades of physical work on physical ground. But he stood there longer the assessment required, longer than any practical purpose asked for, because something about what he was seeing was asking him to look at it more carefully than his ordinary looking aloud. The grammar of the two slopes was telling him something. He stayed long enough to let the thing be told. After a while, he walked into the center of the grove. The air inside was different. Quieter, more still, a kind of structural calm produced by the trees surrounding the space from every direction. The light arrived differently here, filtered through the overlapping canopy, broken into pieces that moved gently across the forest floor. He put his hand on the trunk of one of the middle trees, unremarkable, mid-sized, nothing you would point from the village, and he understood with the specific understanding that arrives through the hands before it arrives in the mind that this tree had not survived the storm because it was strong. The storm that had stripped the oak had reached this tree too. The wind had been the same wind. The night had been the same night. This tree had survived not because of what it was, but because of where it was. Because it was embedded in relation, surrounded by others that had each taken a little of what came, and so none of them had received the full weight of anything. A monk who passed through the village that winter heard the story from Chen over a shared meal. He said, "The teaching in the grove is the teaching of interdependence. The oak is not less strong for being alone, but alone is a kind of vulnerability that the grove has resolved by being what it is. Many things, each giving something to the thing beside it, each receiving something from the thing beside it, none of them exactly the same as they would have been if they had stood on the western hillside in the full exposure of the wind. The grove is not a collection of trees. It is a different kind of thing than a tree. It is something a tree becomes when it is in full relation to what is around it." Chen said, "The oak is more impressive." The monk said, "Yes. The oak is easier to see. The oak has a shape you can point to. The oak has a story about itself that can be told in one sentence. It has stood there alone for 150 years. That is a story people understand. It has a grammar they recognize." Chen said, "And the grove?" The monk said, "The grove does not have a story about itself that can be told in one sentence. It does not have a single shape. It has survived many storms, but the surviving is not visible from the village because the survival was distributed. No single tree bears the full weight of what was survived, which means no single tree has visible evidence of the surviving. You have to walk into the center to feel it. You have to put your hand on the bark of an unremarkable tree to understand that unremarkable, in this context, is another word for held." Chen said, "I have been the oak." The monk said, "Most of us have been the oak. The oak is the tree we know how to be. It stands where everyone can see it, does what it does, without asking for anything from the trees around it. And when the storm comes, it bears what the storm brings alone, and it loses what it loses. The oak is not foolish. The oak did not choose this. The oak is simply growing in the configuration that was available to it, with the resources it had, in the exposed place where it found itself. The oak is doing its best, but the oak does not have to be the only configuration. You have felt the version of this that happens in a life rather than a forest. The specific quality of being the oak, the one whose strength is visible from a distance, the one who has survived many storms alone, and whose survival has itself become a kind of evidence. That alone is fine. That alone is sufficient. That alone is strength. You have held the wind. You have lost branches. You have remained. And this is true and remarkable and genuinely yours. And also, the grove is available. The grove is not a lesser form of the oak. It is what the oak becomes when it discovers that the wind does not have to be managed alone, and that sharing the wind is not weakness, and that the unremarkable middle of a grove of 40 trees is not obscurity. it is held. There is a nuance in the monk's teaching that is worth staying with for a moment before we continue. He did not say that the oak was wrong to stand where it stood. He did not say that the oak's century and a half of solo standing was a mistake or a failure or something to be corrected. He said, the oak is doing its best with the resources it has in the place it finds itself. The oak is the configuration that was available to it. And then he said, but it doesn't have to be the only configuration. This is the teaching that matters, not that the solo standing was wrong, not that the strength you have developed across the years of carrying alone is a mistake or a thing to be undone. That strength is yours. It is real. It was built through genuine effort across genuine time, and it has served you and served the people around you in ways that matter. The oak does not become less of an oak by moving into the grove. The strength that allowed it to stand alone for 150 years is still there. It is simply now available to be shared rather than solely deployed. The grove does not diminish the oak. The grove is what the oak becomes when it discovers that its roots can reach the roots of other trees and that reaching is not loss. Let us pause here for a moment. Chen and the oak and the grove and the monk's phrase about what the unremarkable middle of a grove actually means. Let the body find the version of this that belongs to it, without requiring resolution tonight, without requiring a decision. Simply here, the image of the grove, the hand on the bark of an unremarkable tree. Breathe. When you are ready, we will continue together. Let us explore a story about the bowl that is always kept full for others. In a large mountain monastery, there was a cook named Shu who had prepared meals for the community for 41 years. She had come to the kitchen at 23 as the most junior of 3 cooks assigned to the simplest tasks: the washing, the sorting, the carrying of water and wood, the tasks that require no skill and that no one notices when they are done correctly. She had remained in the kitchen as the others changed around her. Through retirements and departures, and the slow rotation of people that any community undertakes across the decades, until she was the senior cook, and then the only cook of her generation, and then simply the cook, the person the kitchen was organized around, whose preferences in spice and method had become the community's preferences, whose rhythms had become the rhythms of the kitchen itself. She was known for 2 things. The first was the quality of her cooking, which was not remarkable in the way of elaborate or complex cooking, but remarkable in a quieter way, in the sense, present in every bowl and every plate, that whoever had made this had given serious thought to the person receiving it, had thought about whether they were warm enough, whether they had worked hard today, whether they needed something particular. People who ate Shu's food came away from it with the feeling, not always conscious, often not conscious, that they had been seen, that the meal had somehow known something about them. The feeling that comes when care has been practiced long enough that it begins to operate on frequencies below the visible. The second thing she was known for was that she never sat at the table, not that anyone had told her she shouldn't, not that she wasn't invited. She was, regularly, by the community members who liked her and who noticed the absence and thought it should be remedied. She simply never did. The practice, across 41 years, was consistent. She cooked the meal, she served the meal, she cleared the meal, she cleaned the kitchen, and then she ate alone at the small table near the stove with whatever remained, which was never the best of what she had made, because the best of what she made she had given away. The good tea she poured for others, the freshest bread she brought to the table. What was left for her was real and nourishing, and made with care, but it was not the first thing she reached for when something was especially well done. She would not have described this as a sacrifice. It would not have occurred to her to describe it that way. It was simply how the kitchen worked, and she was the kitchen. The kitchen side of the door was where she was. That was not a deprivation. That was a role. A young assistant cook named Lee came to work with Shu in Shu's 39th year. She was new to monastery life and to the kitchen, and she brought with her the observational quality of someone who is learning a new place and who has not yet decided which things are significant and which things are ordinary. So she watched everything with the same attention, indiscriminate, the way a person watches when they don't yet know what they should be filtering out. She watched Shu for months before she said what she had been noticing. She said it quietly, not as an accusation. One afternoon, when the meal was finished and the kitchen was nearly clean, "You never sit with us," Shu said. "Someone has to manage the kitchen." Lee said, "I can manage the kitchen. I have been managing the kitchen with you for 6 months. I know where things are. You could sit with us." Shu considered this the way she considered most things that were offered to her, at a slight distance, with the quality of someone examining an object that is interesting, but not quite for them. She said, "The meal is better managed from the kitchen." Lee said, "The meal is finished when we sit down. There is nothing left to manage. The meal has been made and served and eaten. You could sit with us while we drink the last of the tea." Shu looked at the door to the hall. Through the door came the sounds of the community in the final minutes of the evening meal. The quiet of many people sitting comfortably, the occasional soft exchange, the particular relaxed quality of people who have eaten well and are not yet standing up. She listened to it the way she always listened to it. From the kitchen side of the door, through a door. This was how she knew the meal was going well. From the quality of the sound coming through a door. She said, "The kitchen needs me." She said it with the particular conviction of someone who has been true for so long they have stopped distinguishing between what is true and what is simply what they have always done. Lee looked at her for a moment. Then she turned back to the cleaning and did not push further, because she was new, and she was learning, and she was not sure yet which things it was her place to push. But she noticed. She kept noticing. In Shu's 41st year she became ill. Nothing immediately serious, but something that asked her, plainly and without room for negotiation, to rest. This was the request she had the least practice with. She could manage illness. She could manage pain. She could manage the early morning and the late evening and everything in between. But rest was a different instruction, and it was being given by her own body in a language that was very clear, and she found that she did not know how to follow it. For 3 weeks, Lee cooked the meals alone, and Shu sat in her room and did not manage anything. The 3 weeks were strange in a way she could not fully articulate. Not uncomfortable exactly, but unmoored. The quality of existing without a function she was performing. The experience of simply being present in a place without the presence being in service of something. She lay in her room and heard the sounds of the kitchen from a distance and did not know, without the kitchen, quite what she was. On the day she returned, Lee had set the table with care. She had cooked well. She had learned for Shu, and the learning was real, and the meal was good. And she had set one place with a bowl that was slightly nicer than the others. One of the ceremonial bowls, kept for the formal occasions. A bowl that said, "This meal is for someone who matters." Shu stood at the door of the hall and looked at this bowl. She looked at it for a long time. Lee said simply, "Sit down." Shu sat down. She ate with the community for the first time in 41 years. She tasted what she had been cooking for 41 years. From the side of the table she had always set it on, rather than the side she had always worked from. And what she tasted, and she said this to Lee afterward, slowly, with the quality of someone reporting something that had surprised them and was still surprising them, something they were still in the middle of being surprised by, was that the food tasted like care, like being thought of, like someone had given serious attention to whether she was nourished. She had been giving this to others for 41 years. She had not once given it to herself. She had not known, until she sat on the receiving side, what it felt like to receive it. The bowl at the table had always been full. The cook had always been at the stove, and she had forgotten, or had never known, that the cook was the one who needed the bowl the most. Lee said, afterward, "The kitchen will still be there tomorrow." Shu said, "I know." Lee said, "You can go back whenever you need to. It is not going anywhere. It will be there in the morning. But tonight you were on this side of the door, and the food was good, and there is room, and now you know what the room feels like." Shu said, "I should have known a long time ago." Lee said, "You know now. You have been Shu. In whatever kitchen your life has arranged for you. The kitchen that is a family you manage, a caregiving role, a workplace where you are the one who handles what needs handling, a friendship in which you show up for others and rarely sit at the table yourself. You have been on the kitchen side of the door for long enough that the door has started to feel like your natural location. You have been pouring the good tea into other people's cups and drinking what remains. You have done this not from resentment, and not because anyone demanded it, but because it became, somewhere in the accumulation of years, simply who you are in relation to other people, the one who provides, the one who serves, the one whose presence in the kitchen is the condition of everyone else's meal. The table is there. There is a bowl with your name on it. The kitchen will be there in the morning. You are allowed to be on the other side of the door. The moment Shu tasted the food and understood what she had been giving all along is the moment worth sitting with the longest, because it reveals something about the relationship between giving and receiving that is counterintuitive. That giving without ever receiving is not generosity. It is something else. Something that has the shape of generosity, but that is missing the reciprocity that keeps both giver and receiver alive and well. A river that flows out but never receives rain eventually runs dry. Not because it failed as a river, it did exactly what a river does, but because the flowing requires the feeding, and the feeding had stopped. Shu did not know what she was missing until she tasted it. This is the nature of long deprivation. It does not feel like deprivation after long enough. It feels like normal. The gap becomes invisible because it has been there longer than the memory of its absence. And then one morning Li sets the slightly nicer bowl at the table, and Shu sits down, and she eats, and she tastes care. And the invisibility of the gap is suddenly, quietly visible. The thing she has been giving all along, the thing she has not been giving herself. You have this gap somewhere, the specific form of the good thing you give readily and receive rarely. The quality of presence, or attention, or steadiness, or warmth that flows easily from you toward others, and that you have not, for a long time, allowed to flow toward yourself. The bowl is set. The table has room. Let us pause here for a moment. Shu and the good bowl, and 41 years of the kitchen side of the door. The first time she tasted what she had been giving. Let the body rest with the image of the bowl, the slightly nicer bowl, set for someone who matters, waiting at a table that has always had room for the cook, simply here, simply breathing. When you are ready, we will continue together. Let us explore a story about what a person carries in secret for 30 years. There was a monk named Tao who came to his teacher with a confession in the 32nd year of his practice. This is in itself an unusual thing, not the confession, but the timing. 32 years. The thing he confessed had happened on a single afternoon in his first month at the monastery, when he was 21 years old, and the practice was new, and he was still in the process of deciding who he was going to be inside it. He had been given a task that he had not completed fully. Not from laziness exactly, and not from bad intention, but from a moment of poor judgment that was followed by a moment of worse judgment. Having done the thing poorly, he presented it as done well. He chose the version of the story that was more comfortable. He said yes when the honest answer was mostly, and not quite, and I will go back and finish it later, which he did not do. A small thing. The kind of thing that a 21-year-old does in the first month of a new and demanding life, when everything feels like a test, and the tests feel like they matter enormously. The kind of thing that, in a wiser or a more experienced person, would have been corrected the next morning with a simple accounting. I told you it was done, but it wasn't. Here is the actual state of it. I apologize. The kind of thing that becomes a much heavier thing when it is not corrected the next morning, because the window of correction feels like it has closed. And when the window of correction is allowed to close, the thing stays. He had carried it. He had carried it the way certain people carry certain things. Not always in the foreground, not always consciously aware of it, but never entirely without it either. It was there in the background of his practice, a small constant weight that had become so familiar it no longer felt like weight. It felt like texture, like a quality of the silence in which he sat and practiced. Something slightly not right about the ground he was sitting on. Something slightly insufficient about the floor of his practice. He had become so accustomed to carrying it that he no longer knew himself without it. For many years he had told himself he would address it when the time was right. And then many years passed, and the time had never quite been right, and the thing had remained. And he had carried it through 32 years of practice, and it had colored 32 years of practice in some way that was not visible from the outside, but that he could feel from the inside in the particular quality of his relationship to himself, in the moments of deepest quiet. His teacher was an elderly woman who had been at the monastery for 50 years, and who had the particular quality of very old teachers, the quality of having seen most things and of carrying no urgency about the ones she hadn't seen yet, because urgency requires a belief that time is running out, and she had arrived at a different relationship to time. She listened to Tao's confession with the full quality of her attention, which was the most valuable thing she had to offer anyone. She did not interrupt. She did not flinch. She did not manage her response in advance. When he finished, she was quiet for a while. Then she said, "How long have you been carrying this?" He said, 32 years. She said, "And in 32 years, was anyone harmed by what you did?" He thought about it honestly. The honest assessment that the question required, not the answer he would have reached it if he was trying to minimize or if he was trying to maximize. He said, "I don't think so. Not directly." The task was redone the following week by someone else. "I don't believe anyone's practice was affected. I don't believe anyone knew," she said. "And in 32 years, has your practice been harmed by it?" He thought about this more carefully, because this was the harder question, and he owed it the harder thinking. He said, "I think it has taken something. There has always been a quality of a slight unsettledness in the deepest part of the practice, a sense of occupying the practice on borrowed time, of being here on the basis of a representation that was not entirely accurate, not constantly present, but always potentially present, a door that is always slightly open to a room I would rather not go into," she said. "And now that you have told me what has changed," he sat with this. He looked at the question honestly, as he had been looking at questions honestly for 32 years. He said, "I don't know exactly, but something is lighter. Even in these few minutes, something is lighter. I don't know what has changed, but the room I would rather not go into seems smaller than it did this morning." She said, "Yes, that is consistent with what people report. Something is lighter. Not because the original thing changed. It didn't. Not because the 32 years of carrying unhappened. They didn't. but because the carrying alone was a second weight you added to the first. You were carrying the original small stone, and on top of it, you were carrying the decision to carry it alone, which is always the heavier stone. The original stone was a mistake made by a 21-year-old in his first month of practice. That stone is light. The second stone, the silence, the accumulation of years of silence, the management of its continued presence without acknowledging its presence. That stone is made of time and effort and the ongoing work of not addressing, and it has been growing heavier with every year you chose to carry it alone rather than set it on a table between two people. She said, there is a teaching about this. It says, the thing you hold in secret is held in two places at once, in the place where it happened and in the body of the person keeping the secret. The body that keeps the secret is doing twice the work. It is holding the thing and it is holding the holding. Both require effort. Only the first is necessary. Tao sat with this for a long time. The monastery was quiet around them. Somewhere in the distance, the bell that marked the hours was doing its work. He thought about 32 years of the second stone. How much of the practice had been shaped by the management of it? How much of the quiet he had worked for had been a quiet that was working against something? He said, it felt too small to confess. His teacher said, yes, that is how it works with the things people carry the longest. They are small things, not the dramatic transgressions, not the obvious failures that call for obvious addressing. The small things, the things that feel too small to justify the drama of bringing them to someone, too small to deserve another person's time and attention. And so they are carried alone, quietly, competently, in the background of the practice or the background of the life, and they do not grow larger, but they grow heavier, because weight is a function of time and distance, not size. A small stone carried 32 years is heavier than a large stone carried a day. Tao said, I wish I had come to you sooner. His teacher said, you came when you could. The 32 years were the time it took to be ready. I cannot tell you whether you could have arrived here sooner. Perhaps you could have. Perhaps something in the 32 years was genuinely necessary. What I can tell you is that you are here now, and the stone is on the table between us, and you are lighter than you were this morning, and that is enough. That is the whole practice, actually. Noticing what you are carrying and setting it down when you can. You could not set this down sooner. You set it down today. That is all that today asks of you. You have something you carry in this way. It may not be 32 years old. It may be much shorter or much longer. It may be something that, on paper, is objectively small. A moment of not telling the truth, a thing left unsolved, a word said or not said, that you have been carrying as a texture beneath everything else you do. The thing does not need to be large. The thing only needs to be yours, and secret, and the second weight on top of it only needs to be the accumulated effort of not addressing it. The stone is not too small to set down. The stone is whatever size it is, and setting it down with someone on a table, in the quality of attention, that allows things to be seen honestly is the thing that makes the second weight optional. The teacher did not say, "You should have come sooner." She did not say, "32 years was too long. You wasted 32 years. You could have been free of this earlier." She said, "You came when you could." The 32 years were the time it took. This is worth holding carefully, because one of the things the person who carries alone is most prone to is the addition of a third weight on top of the first two. The weight of self-judgment for not having set the stone down sooner. The stone is there. The carrying alone has made it heavier. And now there is also the accusation, "Why didn't you bring this to someone earlier? Why did you let it become this large? Why didn't you know better?" This third weight is the most unnecessary of all. The first stone was real. The second stone was a habit. The third stone is cruelty applied to what was already heavy. You came when you could. The time it has taken is the time it has taken. There is no version of your history in which you arrived at this moment any earlier than you arrived. You are here now. That is sufficient. And now that you are here, the second stone and the third stone are both optional. Both can be set on the table. Both can be acknowledged and released into the ordinary air of a night that asks nothing except your presence. Let us pause here for a moment. Tao and the 32 years and the teacher's distinction between the first stone and the second stone, the weight of the thing and the weight of carrying it alone. Let those two weights be noticed separately if they can be. The thing itself and the silence around the thing. Simply here, simply breathing into the quiet. When you are ready, we will continue together. Let us explore a story about the night a senior monk finally said so. There was a monk named Fang who had been at the monastery for 40 years. He was, in the way of people who have been present and capable and reliable for a very long time, a kind of weather in the community, not noticed exactly. The way weather is not noticed when it is good, but deeply depended upon, in the way the community depends on air and on gravity and on the quality of the morning. When the morning is right, you do not think about the morning. You simply move through it. Fang was the morning. He had always been the morning. He had always been the one people came to. Not because he was the oldest. There were older monks. Not because he was the most learned in the texts. There were monks who could recite more and who understood more of the formal scholarship. But because he had a quality that is rare and difficult to name, the quality of being genuinely present when he was with you, of listening in a way that made the person being listened to feel, without being told, that what they were saying was the most important thing happening in that moment, of offering, after the listening, something real rather than something reflexive, something that came from the actual territory of what had been shared rather than from a general stockpile of useful things to say. People left conversations with Fang feeling that they had been met, not solved, not fixed, not advised, met. He was, in the language the community used, the one to go to, and he had been the one to go to for 40 years. 40 years of being the one people went to means 40 years of being on the listening side of conversations. It means 40 years of being the place difficulty came to, the arriving point for grief and confusion and exhaustion and all the weight that other people needed to set down temporarily in order to continue. Fang was the place where weight was set down. He received it well. He was good at this, and across 40 years, he had been on the listening side, so thoroughly and so consistently that he had stopped noticing that there was another side. He would not have said he was lonely. He was surrounded by people. He was in constant relation. He would not have said he was isolated. The community was close and warm, and there were people he cared for, genuinely and deeply. But there was something that had grown quietly in the center of the 40 years that he did not have a name for. Something about the asymmetry, about being always in relation to other people's difficulty, about never being in the position of bringing his own difficulty to someone, partly because it had become professionally unusual to do so, partly because the people around him brought their difficulty to him, and it would have felt like an unusual reversal, but mostly because the part of him that might have brought its own difficulty somewhere had been quiet for so long that he had lost the ability to hear it. He had listened to others for so long that he had become unable to listen to himself. This is a particular kind of lonely that does not announce itself. It lives beneath the surface of a life that is full and connected and genuinely meaningful, and it only becomes audible in the particular quality of certain silences. The silence after a long and meaningful conversation in which someone left lighter and he remained holding what they had brought. The silence before sleep on certain nights when the day's receiving had been especially full. A silence that asked something and that he had no way to answer. In his 41st year, a young novice named Bao came to him with a question. She was new, earnest, genuinely serious about the practice, the kind of person who does not perform their seriousness, but simply is serious, which is a different and rarer thing. The question itself was ordinary enough, about a passage in a text that was giving her difficulty, about the relationship between two teachings that seemed to contradict each other, the kind of question that a thoughtful beginner asks, and that has a real answer. Fang began to answer it. He knew the answer. He had answered versions of this question many times across the years, and he knew where the apparent contradiction resolved and how to explain the resolution in a way that would be clear to someone at her stage of practice. He was good at this. And then something in the quality of her listening stopped him. She was listening in the way he listened, with the full quality of attention that makes the person being listened to feel that what they are saying is the only thing happening. She had the quality. She was young and untrained, and she had it naturally, the particular gift of presence that cannot be taught, that either exists in a person or does not. And in the middle of his answer, he stopped, because what he was feeling was unusual. He was feeling listened to, not in the ordinary sense of having someone pay attention while he spoke. He had that all day, every day. He was feeling the quality of being met. He stopped speaking. He said, "Before I answer, I want to ask you something," she said. Of course, she waited with the full quality of her attention, which did not waver. He said, "Do you know, this is not a question I have asked anyone in 40 years. Do you know what it feels like to be listened to? Not to listen, to be the one who is heard." She said, "I think so. It feels like the other person is completely there, like nothing else exists for them for the length of the conversation." He said, "Yes, that is what it feels like." And he stopped. He was a person of easy words. When other people needed words from him, he had been giving words for 40 years. And here, needing words for himself, he found them slower to arrive, thicker. He said, "I have been on the giving side of that for a very long time, and I find that I don't remember what it feels like to be on the other side. I find that I don't know quite what I would say if someone was there with that kind of attention directed at me." Bao did not answer immediately. She understood, with the instinct of someone who is genuinely present, that this was not a moment for a response. It was a moment for staying. She stayed. After a while she said, "Would you like to try?" Fang looked at her. He said, "I don't know what I would bring." She said, "You don't need to know in advance. I'll be here." What followed was, as far as Fang knew, the only time in 40 years he had been on the receiving side of the quality he most consistently gave. He talked for a long time. He did not have a dramatic confession or a single heavy stone. He had, instead, the ordinary accumulation of a person who has been fully present to others' difficulty for 40 years and who discovers, in the act of being fully present to his own difficulty for the first time, that ordinary accumulation has weight too. That tiredness is real, even when it is not the tiredness of a specific crisis. That the particular loneliness of being the place where weight is brought. The loneliness of being the person everyone relies on to receive difficulty, which sounds like a generous and meaningful role, and is a generous and meaningful role, but which is also a role that does not include anyone bringing difficulty to you, which means you carry yours alone, not from pride or from silence, but simply from the structural logic of the role, that loneliness has a weight that can be named. He said these things slowly and imperfectly, without the ease that came from saying them to others. He found the words where they were, which was farther back than he was used to going. He did not feel fixed at the end of the conversation. He did not feel that a problem had been solved or that a stone had been set down. He felt, he told Bao afterward, considerably lighter in a way he could not fully account for, as if something that had been held at a slight tension inside him had been allowed for the length of one conversation to be held less tightly, not released, simply held less tightly, and that had been enough to notice. You know the particular loneliness of being the one everyone comes to, the loneliness of being surrounded by people who need you, in a way that leaves you somehow more alone than if you were genuinely by yourself. The asymmetry of it, the sustained quality of being the place where weight is brought, and the understanding, too deep to examine directly, that you do not bring your weight anywhere because there is no one whose role it is to receive it. You are allowed to be Bao's question. You are allowed to be on the receiving side of the quality you most consistently give. It is not a betrayal of who you have been. It is a discovery that you have two sides, and one of them has been waiting a long time. Let us pause here for a moment. Fang and the young novice's quality of attention, and the one conversation in 40 years that was directed at him rather than through him. Simply rest with the feeling of that, being the one who is heard. Being on the other side, whatever the body does with that image, let it do it without being directed. When you are ready, we will continue together. Let us explore a story about what two hands cannot hold alone. High in the mountains, on a route that connected two valleys that would otherwise require a week's journey to reach each other, there was a stretch of path that passed through a ravine. The ravine was narrow, and along one section of it, the path had been cut into the side of the cliff face, perhaps half a meter wide, with stone to the right and empty air to the left, and a drop below that you did not look down into if you were wise. Porters who carried supplies along this route had worked this section for generations. They had learned the ravine the way all difficult terrain is eventually learned. By doing it many times, until the learning became something the body held rather than the mind. They knew which stones were reliable and which would shift. They knew how the wind moved through the ravine in different seasons and how to angle the body against it. They knew, above all, weight balanced close to the center, steps deliberate, attention held at the specific quality that is neither panic nor inattention, but something in between, the quality of being fully awake in a place that asks for it. There was a porter named Yao who had worked the ravine for 15 years. He was considered by the people who knew the route to be among the most capable. Strong, experienced, reliable, in the way that people who have been tested by the same terrain across many seasons are reliable. He had carried through the ravine in rain and snow, and in the particular difficult combination of rain and cold that made the stones treacherous in ways that required everything you had. He had never lost a load. He had never fallen. He had also always worked alone, not by assignment. It was not required. Other porters sometimes worked in pairs, and this was known to be effective. The second person could take part of the weight on difficult sections, could hold the rope on the most exposed crossing, could catch what was dropped. The pair made the route safer and often faster, despite the coordination required. But Yao had always found the coordination itself to be a friction, an additional thing to manage on top of an already demanding route. He had developed the systems and the rhythms that worked for him, and adding another person to them was a disruption he preferred to avoid. In his 16th year on the route, he was asked to show the path to a new porter, a younger man named Wei, who had come to work the high routes and who needed to learn them under someone experienced before he could be trusted to work them alone. The pairing was temporary. Yao understood this and accepted it. What he discovered in the first section of the ravine, in the particular narrow crossing where the path was cut into the cliff face, and the air was to the left, and the stone was to the right, was something that surprised him. Wei moved well. He had good feet and good balance, and the specific quality of calm that the ravine requires, a quality that cannot be taught exactly, but that some people arrive with. And as they moved through the crossing together, their packs close to the cliff face, their movements coordinated in the way that two people in a narrow place eventually coordinate without planning to, Yao noticed something. He noticed that the crossing was easier, not because Wei was carrying more than his share. They were each carrying their own packs, not because Wei was doing anything extraordinary. He was simply there, present, moving in time with the demands of the terrain. But the presence of another body in the ravine changed the quality of what the ravine required of him. The weight of sustained attention was distributed. The specific anxiety that lived in the narrow crossing, the part of awareness that monitored the drop, that registered the wind, that held the calculation of every step in case of sudden change, that part was less alone. He was not the only one watching. He was not the only one whose body was calibrated to the specific demands of this place. The watching was shared, and the sharing made it lighter. At the end of the crossing, Yao Sai stood for a moment looking back at what they had come through. He said, almost to himself, "It is easier with two." Wei said, "Of course. That is why some people always pair." Yao said, "I have been doing this for 16 years without pairing." "I know," I was told. Yao said, "I thought the coordination would be more trouble than it was worth." Wei said, "Sometimes it is. It depends on the other person. But when the other person moves well, it changes the weight of the root, not the load. The load is the same. The root is the weight, and the root is lighter with two." Yao stood with this for a moment. Then he shouldered his pack, and they continued. He thought about it for many days afterward. The load is the same. The root is the weight. He had been carrying the root alone for 16 years, carrying not just the physical pack, but the complete management of the crossing, the full attention required, the total responsibility of the narrow place. The awareness that if something went wrong, there was no one else to catch what fell or to go for help. He had been carrying the root alone, not because the root required it, but because he had developed the systems for carrying it alone, and adding another person to those systems had felt like a net addition of difficulty rather than a net reduction. And what he had discovered in the crossing with Wei was that his calculation had been wrong. The coordination was real friction, yes, but the shared attention was more valuable than the friction cost. The root was lighter with two, not the load, the root. You have been carrying the root alone. In whatever form the ravine takes in your life, the sustained demands of a role or a responsibility that requires constant calibration, the narrow crossing that you have developed systems for, and that you manage expertly, but that you manage alone. The complete weight of responsibility for the outcomes that has lived in your body as the particular tension of being the only one watching. You have been doing this for long enough that it feels simply like the nature of the root, like what the root asks. The load is the same. The root is the weight. There is something in Yao's discovery that is easy to miss if we move past it too quickly. He did not find the crossing easier because Wei was stronger. He did not find it easier because Wei took part of his load. Wei was carrying his own pack. Yao was carrying his. The physical weight was distributed exactly as it had always been distributed. Each person responsible for their own. What changed was the weight of sustained attention, the particular exhaustion of being the only one watching, the cost of carrying the root, of holding in your body the complete responsibility for what happened on the narrow crossing, the awareness that if something went wrong, you were the only resource, the ongoing management of every variable in a dangerous place with no margin for error. That weight, not the pack weight, but the attention weight. That was what was lighter with two. This is the weight that people who carry alone almost never name. The pack is visible. The load is visible. The root, the sustained management of what might go wrong, the ongoing responsibility for all the outcomes, the exhaustion of being the only thing standing between everything and the drop. The root is invisible. Nobody can see it. Nobody can offer to help with it, because nobody can see it to offer. And so it accumulates year after year as a kind of tiredness that is not about what you are lifting, but about the fact that you are always the only one watching. The root can be shared. It requires trust and the right person and the willingness to let someone else watch some of what you have been watching alone. But it is shareable, and sharing it changes the crossing more than anything else could. Let us pause here for a moment. Yao and the crossing, and the discovery that the root is lighter with two, not the load, which is the same, but the sustained attention and the responsibility and the watchfulness which can be shared. Let that distinction rest in the body, the load that is yours, the root that does not have to be carried alone. When you are ready, we will continue together. Let us explore a story about what was left at the gate. A woman named Yun arrived at a monastery in the late autumn of her 47th year, carrying everything she owned, and, though she did not yet have words for this, everything she had never said. She had come from a life of sustained competence, not the kind that announces itself, not the visible, high-achieving kind, not the kind that has a visible shape that others can point to, the quiet kind, the kind that keeps things running, that manages what needs managing, that holds the fabric of a life and a family together through the accumulated force of showing up, doing what needs doing, not requiring much in return. She had been doing this since her early 20s, when circumstances had made her the one who did these things, and she had done them well, and the doing of them well had become the definition of who she was. She had not thought of herself as someone who needed a rest. She thought of herself as someone who was tired, and there was a difference in her understanding between tired and needing a rest. Tired was a condition. Needing a rest was a statement about the self, a statement that the self was insufficient, that the demands exceeded what was available, that something had to give. She was tired. She was not insufficient. She was not at the place where something had to give. and then something gave anyway. It gave quietly, the way things give when they have been under pressure for a very long time. Not dramatically, not all at once, not in a way that produced a clear before and after. It gave in the way of a specific quality of exhaustion that arrived in the early autumn and did not lift with sleep or with the weekend or with any of the ordinary remedies the way it usually did. It was different in quality from ordinary tiredness in a way that she could feel but not describe. It was like the tiredness of the body settling into something structural, like the weight had moved somewhere below, the level where effort and rest could address it. Someone had told her about the monastery, a friend of a friend who had gone there in a different kind of difficulty and had come back changed in a quiet way that the friend could not fully articulate, but that was visible. She had written a letter. They had responded with warmth and with an invitation. She had arranged the practical things which she did efficiently and without drama, and then she had come. At the gate of the monastery, she was met by a monk named Brother Lu, a middle-aged man with an unhurried quality that was itself a kind of welcome, the quality of someone who has nowhere else to be and finds this completely acceptable. He looked at her pack, which was practical and organized. He looked at her face, which was the face of someone who had been managing a long time. He said, "We are glad you are here. Is there anything you are carrying that you would like to leave at the gate?" She understood he was asking about the luggage. She looked at her bag. She said, "I can manage." Brother Lu looked at her for a moment with the particular attention of someone who has received many arriving people and who has learned to hear what they mean underneath what they say. He said, "We have a tradition here. When people arrive, they are invited to leave something at the gate. Not necessarily their luggage, that is only one kind of carrying. Sometimes a burden of a different kind. It is not required. Nothing here is required. But the gate is here, and the tradition is here, and we have found that people often arrive carrying more than what is in their bags." Yoon looked at him. She looked at the gate. She looked at what the gate was, an ordinary gate, wooden, old, worn smooth, at the places where hands had held it across many years. The gate of a place, the threshold between what is out here and what is in there. She thought about what she was carrying that was not in the bag. She found, when she tried to look at it directly, that she could not see it clearly enough to name it. It had been there too long. It had become part of the texture of herself. Not a separate thing she was holding, but a quality of how she held herself. The posture of the stone carrier, which had been her posture for so long that she no longer knew what standing without it would feel like. She said, "I don't know what I'm carrying." Brother Lu said, "That is not unusual. You don't need to know. You can simply set something down, anything, and the intention is sufficient. The gate doesn't require a full accounting." She stood at the gate for a while. She did not put her bag down. She did not have a dramatic moment of release. But something in her, the part that had been managing for 25 years, the part that had been the capable one, became, very quietly, a little less rigid, not dissolved, not released. simply slightly less rigid, the way a fist that has been clenched for a long time begins to open not because of intention, but because it has been held long enough, and the body's deeper knowing says, now. She spent 3 weeks at the monastery. She was not asked to be capable. She was given simple tasks, sweeping, folding, assisting in the kitchen, tasks that had beginnings and endings, that were completed and then complete, that did not require the sustained management that the rest of her life had required. She ate at the table, where people sat and ate together, where no one was monitoring the meal from the kitchen. She slept the sleep of a person who is not monitoring whether the sleep is sufficient. She walked in the garden in the mornings and sat by the small pond in the evenings, and did not manage anything. She found, toward the end of the 2nd week, that the quality of the tiredness had begun to change. Not that it was gone, she was still tired, but the texture was different. The structural quality of it, the quality that had not responded to ordinary rest, had begun to soften slightly, as if whatever had been held at that structural level had begun to release at the cellular level that ordinary rest cannot reach, releasing only under conditions of being genuinely not required. On the last evening before she left, she walked to the gate. It was late, and the monastery was quiet around her, and the gate was simply a gate in the dark. She stood at it for a while. Brother Lu happened to pass. He saw her at the gate and stopped. She said, "When I arrived, you asked if I was carrying anything I wanted to leave at the gate. I said I could manage." He said, "I remember." She said, "I've been thinking about that. I think I understand now what you were asking, not about the bag." He said, "Yes." She said, "I'm not sure what I'm leaving. I still can't quite see it clearly enough to name it, but something has changed. Something in the 3 weeks. I don't know if I'm leaving it here or if I'm taking it back lighter." Brother Lu said, "Sometimes those are the same thing. Sometimes you don't leave the stone at the gate, you leave the posture, the specific way you have been holding it. And you take the stone back, but you take it back slightly differently, and that changes its weight more than setting it down would have." She said, "I didn't know it was a posture. I thought it was just me." He said, "It is you, and also a posture. Both things can be true. The posture is real and it is yours. And it is also a thing you developed, rather than a thing you were born with, which means it is a thing that can be held differently over time, with practice, with the particular conditions of not being required, which is what 3 weeks of not being required can begin to provide." She looked at the gate. She said, "I'll come back." He said, "We'll be here. You have stood at this gate, in whatever form the threshold takes. The moment at the beginning of a night like this one, when you finally stopped managing long enough to be here, to let the night be something other than a space between the day that ended and the day that will begin. You are already at the gate. The arrival was the setting down. The gate is here. The tradition is here. Nothing is required. Simply notice what you are carrying, as much as you can see it from where you are, and let the gate hold the intention, which is sufficient. Let us pause here for a moment. Yun and the gate, and Brother Lu's distinction between leaving the stone and leaving the posture. You do not have to name what you are carrying tonight. You do not have to set it down completely. You can simply arrive at the gate. The arrival is enough. When you are ready, we will continue together. 7 stories have come tonight. Let them rest now, in whatever order the body receives them. When on the mountain path, who said, "I am fine," and arrived 12 minutes late, and whose teacher's question stayed with him for years, what did the refusal give you? Chen the woodcutter, who put his hand on the bark of an unremarkable tree in the center of a grove, and understood that the grove's survival was not the oak's strength, but something different, the specific strength of being embedded in relation, of being surrounded by others, each giving something to the thing beside it. Shu the cook, 41 years of the kitchen side of the door, and the first morning she sat at the table and tasted what she had been giving, and found that it tasted like care. Tao, 32 years of the second stone. Not the original small mistake, but the accumulated weight of carrying it alone, which is always heavier than the thing itself, and the recognition that the second stone is optional. Yao, and the ravine and the discovery that the load was the same, but the route was lighter with 2, not the weight in the pack, but the weight of full attention, full responsibility, the complete management of the narrow crossing, which can be shared. Fang, 40 years of being the one people came to, who found in one conversation with a young novice that the other side of the listening was available, that he had a side he had not visited, and that visiting it produced something he could only describe as lighter, and Yun at the gate, unable to name what she was carrying, who left 3 weeks later with a different posture, who left not the stone but the way of holding it, which changes the weight more than setting the stone down would have. What connects all 7 stories is not the specific form of the carrying. Each person was carrying something different in a different shape for a different reason. What connects them is the structure underneath. A person who had become so accustomed to carrying alone that they no longer recognized it as a choice, who had carried for long enough that the carrying felt like the self, who arrived through different routes and at different speeds at the moment of recognition that the stone is a stone, that the carrying is a choice, and that the choice can be made differently. Wen arrived at it through a teacher's question. Chen arrived at it through a woodcutter's attention to a hillside after a storm. Shu arrived at it through a young assistant's refusal to accept the kitchen side of the door as natural. Dao arrived at it through the accumulation of 32 years of a second weight. Yao arrived at it through a single crossing shared with someone who moved well. Fang arrived at it through a young novice's quality of presence turned in his direction. Yun arrived at it through 3 weeks of not being required. None of them arrived at it by being told they should. None of them arrived at it through instruction or through a lecture on the value of interdependence. They arrived through experience, through the specific, concrete, particular experience of discovering that something they had understood as fixed was not fixed, that a configuration they had understood as their nature was a configuration they had chosen, and that choosing differently was possible. Stories do this. This is what stories are for, to carry the experience of other people's discoveries into the body of the listener, so that the body can recognize the terrain when it encounters it. You have been in the company of 7 discoveries tonight. Let the body hold what it recognized. Let the recognition work in its own way and in its own time. The teaching beneath all 7 is pratityasamutpada, the arising of all things in relation to all other things. Nothing exists alone. Everything is held by what surrounds it. You are held by what surrounds you. The oak stands alone and loses branches in the storm. The grove distributes the wind and the center trees remain untouched. The difference is not strength. The difference is configuration. But the teaching says something more specific than the metaphor. It says something about the double weight, the weight that Tao's teacher named directly, and that was present in every story tonight in different forms. The stone and the decision to carry it alone, the load and the root, the burden and the posture, the thing itself, and the sustained management of the thing's presence while presenting as fine. This doubling is not chosen consciously. No one decides, with clear intention, to add the second weight to the first. The second weight accumulates through the same small decisions that made you the capable one in the first place. Through the habit of yes, through the posture of I can manage, through the repeated experience of being fine when fine was slightly less than accurate. The second weight is the sediment of those decisions, accumulated across the years until it has become structural, until it is no longer weight you are carrying, but the way you are built. The teaching does not say, set the stone down. It says, notice the stone. Notice both stones, the original weight and the weight of carrying it alone. Notice what the second stone costs, because the second stone is the one that is optional. The first stone is yours, and it may be that the first stone is genuinely yours to carry. The second stone, the performance of fine, the maintenance of the posture, the refusal of the offer on the mountain path, is not inevitable. It feels inevitable because it is habitual. It is not inevitable. The offer will come again. 2 monks will come down the path. The gate will be there. There will be a bowl slightly nicer than the others, set at a place at the table. The young novice will wait with the full quality of her attention for what you would like to bring. What you have been practicing all night in listening to these stories is a small form of this. You have been on the receiving side of something, of words, of care, of the quiet company of stories told with the intention of arriving at the place where you are. You have not had to provide anything. You have not had to manage anything. You have been shu at the table rather than shu at the stove, and the meal has arrived without you having to make it, and you have simply been here to receive it. This is a very small and temporary form of the thing the stories are pointing toward, but even small and temporary forms contain the seed of the teaching. The receiving was possible. You were here to receive it, and the receiving did not require you to be anything other than what you are. And if receiving this was possible, if this small form of being held rather than holding was available to you, then the larger forms are also possible. The conversation in which you talk and are listened to, the path with 2 pairs of hands on the stone, the center of the grove, the table, the gate. You do not have to accept the offer tonight. You do not have to set the stone down tonight. Tonight is not a night for dramatic decisions or sudden reversals of a long habit of carrying alone. Tonight is a night for the smaller thing, for noticing that the stone is a stone, for noticing that your arms are tired, for noticing that the ground beneath your feet has been holding you the entire time you were holding the stone, and that the ground is steady, and that it will be there in the morning. That is enough. That is, in fact, the whole teaching. Notice the stone. Notice that it is not you. Notice the ground. Let the body rest now. Let the instructions of the evening settle away. They have done what they came to do. The stories are in you now, working in the way that stories work. Not through the mind, exactly. Not through the conscious processing of meaning, but through something slower and more patient, something that will continue without your supervision in the quiet hours ahead. Let the body become heavier now, in the good way, in the way of a body that has been permitted to stop managing, that has been allowed to be simply weight and warmth and breath. Nothing required of it except to remain. Feel the back of the body, the points of contact with whatever is holding you, the mattress, the pillow, the surface that has been there all along, holding your weight the way the ground held the oak and the grove, both equally, without preference, without requiring anything from them except their presence. The earth is holding you. It has been holding you all night, all day, all year, without being thanked or noticed. It is holding you right now. Let the shoulders drop. Not pushed down, simply released. Let the neck be long. Let the jaw have the small space between the teeth that allows the breath to move freely. Let the hands open, palms upward if that is comfortable, the fingers uncurling from whatever they have been holding. You are not carrying anything with your hands right now. The stone is elsewhere. The hands can rest. The chest. The weight in the chest that belongs to the person who carries alone. That slight compression, that sustained bracing, the posture of someone who is holding something heavy in the center of themselves. Let it be acknowledged. Let the breath move into the compressed place, not to fix it or dissolve it, but simply to be there with it. The way Brother Lou was at the gate, simply present, not requiring an accounting, simply here, the belly. Let it be soft. Let the breath fill it before it fills the chest. The deep breath, the full breath, the breath that reaches all the way down to the place where the breath is stored when we are not managing, when we are not performing fine. You have been performing fine for a long time. You do not have to perform it tonight. The night is not watching. The night is not forming an opinion about how you are doing. The night is simply here, receiving you as it has received every tired and carrying person who has come to it across all the years and all the centuries and all the long accumulation of nights in which people lay in the dark, carrying what they carry and trying in their various ways to rest. You are not the first person to lie in the dark with a stone. You are in a long and quiet company of stone carriers, all the people who have been the capable one and who have come, eventually, to the night where capable is not required, where the night holds whatever you bring without asking you to justify it. Let the breath be slow, in long and full and reaching deep, out longer, letting what the breath carries go out with it. Again, in all the way, out, slow, long. Notice the warmth of the body. Whatever warmth is available, the warmth of the bed, the specific warmth that the body produces simply by being alive and present in a particular place. This warmth was not manufactured by effort. It did not require management. It simply arrived as the body does what the body does across all the hours, without being asked and without needing anything from you in return. The body has been caring for you all day, all night, all year, without a single request to acknowledge the care. Let the warmth be received as what it is, the evidence of the body's continuous and unconditional generosity toward you. Some of you are already near sleep. Let that approach. Do not manage it. Do not monitor whether the sleep is arriving quickly enough or in the right form. Simply be here and let what comes come. The sleep that comes to a person who is not managing is different from the sleep that comes when the managing continues even after the eyes close. Let the managing stop. Let it stop at the gate. The grove is around you tonight. Not visibly. The night is simply the night. But the structure is there. The web of what holds you. The people and the ground and the air and the particular warmth of this hour. All of it in relation to all the rest of it. None of it alone. You are inside a web. The web has been there all along. The carrying alone was a story about the web, not the truth of it. The truth is, you are held. The ground holds you. The air receives your breath and gives it back changed, gives you the thing you need and intakes the thing you no longer need over and over all night without being asked. The night itself is a kind of carrying, and you are inside it. Let the stories from tonight continue their work in the quiet. They do not need your attention to do it. They are already in you, in the particular place in the body where the things that matter land, below the level of conscious thought, in the slow territory where real change actually happens. When on the mountain path, the grove after the storm, Shu at the table, Tao and the second stone, Yao in the ravine, Fang listening and being listened to, Yun at the gate. 7 recognitions, all of them yours now to keep and to return to and to find someday, already present in a moment when you need them. That is the gift of stories. They travel with you. Long after the night ends and the morning comes and the stone is back in your hands, these will be there too. Evidence that the carrying is not the only configuration. Evidence that the ground is steady. Evidence that the offer will come again. The stone can rest for now. It will be there in the morning if you need it. Tonight, simply here, simply received. Breathe. And again, and again. The cook is at the table. The bowl is full. The kitchen is dark and quiet, and will be there in the morning unchanged, waiting. But tonight there is room. There has always been room. It was only the story about the kitchen that said otherwise. The story is resting now, and you are at the table. The oak is resting in its hillside, and the grove is quiet around it. And somewhere in the root system beneath both slopes, the water is moving through the soil the way it always moves, connecting what appears to be separate, holding what appears to be alone in the slow and patient work that ground has always done. You are not carrying anything tonight. Tonight is not a night for carrying. Breathe, sleep well, and thank you for joining us here at Quiet Lotus.